Welcome back. President Zelensky announced that Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin are in Kyiv today after President Biden announced a new $800 million weapons package to Ukraine. But Ukrainian President Zelensky says it will take $7 billion a month to rebuild his country, and that this war would have been over had he gotten the weapons he needed sooner. Joining me right now is the former director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, to weigh in. John, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here. Can you assess the U.S.'s response to the war on Ukraine?
Yeah, I think this unfortunately encapsulates the sad state of American foreign policy under the Biden administration. They're sending Secretary Blinken and Secretary Austin to project American strength in this situation. These are the two guys that were, the architects of the most embarrassing military retreat and surrender, frankly, in Afghanistan in American history. But there are really no good options. Are you going to send Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to project American strength? So there's a problem with the ability and capacity of the Biden administration to project strength around the world in these situations. And I think that's the dilemma on the ground. The dilemma for the Ukrainians is they're in it to win it. They've been fighting to win from the beginning, just as Vladimir Putin and Russia want to win and are willing to do anything to accomplish what they want. The Biden administration hasn't been in line with that. I mean, from the beginning, think about it, Maria. This invasion started February 24th, and only 2 days into the invasion, the Biden administration encouraged Volodymyr Zelensky to do what they did in Afghanistan, to leave the country. And had he done that, Vladimir Putin would have gotten the quick victory that he wanted. So, fortunately for Zelensky and the Ukrainians, they didn't take the Biden administration advice, because the Biden administration, there's a difference between helping Ukraine and helping Ukraine to win. And I think that's one of the things that is coded within the things that President Zelensky is saying is, you're helping us, but you're not helping us defeat Vladimir Putin.
Well, it's a good point, particularly since the Biden administration has been pretty much working with Russia. I mean, can you really see it any other way, given that Russia has been working on behalf of the United States to get the U.S. back into an Iran deal? We have these two headlines that I want you to address, and they are about Anthony Blinken telling us that Iran is just weeks away from having the wherewithal for a nuclear weapon. But he said this last year in 2021, and he said it this year again in 2022, that Iran is weeks away. Is this some kind of a campaign to get America to believe that we better get back into the Iran deal, that he keeps saying this for a year and a half?
It is, and unfortunately, this is the trend where the Biden administration is being intentionally dishonest about the intelligence. You're right. The Biden administration had been working with Russia, gave them Nord Stream 2, gave them New START treaty, and hasn't been helping to win in Ukraine. And now it's Russia that is negotiating an Iranian nuclear deal. It was Anthony Blinken only 11 days into the Biden administration back in 2021, February 1st, that said, we're a week, the Iranians are a week or two away from having a nuclear weapon. He said it 6 months after that. He said it a year after that. We're now 450 days later, and the Biden administration is saying, we've got to do this Iranian nuclear deal that lifts sanctions, give them billions of dollars like we did in 2015, because they're just a week or two away from a nuclear weapon. The intelligence doesn't support that. And, the bottom line is it just belies, common sense, Maria. The idea that bloodthirsty Ayatollahs that want to wipe Israel off the face of the earth with a nuclear weapon are having a conversation that says, hey, guys, we could have a nuclear weapon next Wednesday, but we're going to hold off because the Americans are going to make some concession to us. It doesn't make any sense. They're being dishonest about it because they want to force through this deal and scare the American people into thinking it's the right thing to do when the intelligence does not support that.
Director, I want to take a short break, but when we come back, it was a big week for John Durham's Russia probe investigation. Defrauding the government is a felony. When multiple people are doing it together, it could be a conspiracy. After the break, John Ratcliffe connects the dots in John Durham's Russia collusion investigation. Stay with us.
You had been asked or been prepared for a question about Hunter Biden's role on the board of Burisma, but I don't think that you gave us the answer or answers that the Obama-Biden State Department prepared you to give in response to that question. Do you remember what those answers were?
Yeah, it was something along the lines of, I would refer you to the Vice President's office on that.
Are you aware of the very public statements by the Vice President that firing of the Prosecutor General occurred in March of 2016, 6 hours after the Vice President told President Poroshenko that he needed to fire the Prosecutor General or that he wouldn't receive $1 billion from the United States? Do you recall that?
Yes.
Welcome back. That was then Congressman John Ratcliffe cross-examining former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Maria Yovanovitch, during President Trump's impeachment trial back in November 2019, forcing her to admit that Obama-Biden State Department coached her on how to answer any questions that may have come up about Hunter Biden's business affairs and the money that he has taken in before her Senate confirmation hearing. I am back with John Ratcliffe right now. And, Director, connect the dots for us. You cross-examined Yovanovitch. Why did you raise this issue?
Well, Maria, I think, it highlights the point that the irony that the first president to be concerned about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and the dealings with foreign officials and companies wasn't President Trump. It was President Obama, and that they took the official position at that time that, hey, if anything comes up about Hunter and Joe Biden and their business dealings, directed to the vice president's office. Fast forward to now, and President Biden, his official White House position is, Hunter Biden, I barely know the guy. Why are you asking me any questions about these business dealings? So it really underscores the hypocrisy of all this. And the reason to look at all this, Maria, is because the intelligence shows this. And it's why, when we talk about, interference in elections or trying to influence elections, what happened with Hunter Biden's laptop in the weeks before the election, was a coordinated effort to keep information about Hunter and Joe Biden's business dealings with foreign officials and countries that were on his laptop, to mislead the American people about those things. And so, I think it's important, and I think it's really a great thing that this investigation's ongoing with a U.S. attorney in Delaware, and we're seeing increasingly that Hunter Biden's transactions with Joe Biden and others in the Biden family to peddle influence, as you talked about, are being investigated. The question is, at the end of the day, if they want to bring serious, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, anti-bribery allegations against Hunter Biden, they're going to have to get the permission of the Attorney General, Merrick Garland. So we'll see, my concern is how prosecutorial discretion will be exercised with respect to all of these things at the end of the day, and see whether or not the American people will really get the accountability that they've been looking for so long.
Well, we will see if Merrick Garland, the current sitting Biden AG, will tip the scales, because you were the only intelligence official who told us the truth. And we've got the New York Post cover here with the spies that lied because 50 intelligence agents signed their name on the dotted line to say that laptop was disinformation. But you came on this program and on my program on Fox Business, Mornings with Maria, and told us no, there was no intelligence that indicated this to be Russian disinformation.
Yeah, this was a coordinated effort to mislead the American people with again, politicizing intelligence that didn't exist. Adam Schiff claiming that this was Russian disinformation, and then it being peddled by big tech and former Obama national security officials who all signed on to, again, in the weeks leading up to 2020, influence the outcome of the election. And I think they were successful in doing so, unfortunately.
And successful in doing so, meaning what?
Well, I think clearly it had an impact. I'm not saying I know in particular states how many people were influenced and how they voted, but the American people should have had all of the facts with regard to Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, business dealings, influence peddling, all of the things that were under federal investigation to make up their own mind about the candidates in 2020. And I think they were deprived of that in a coordinated effort to mislead the American people.
Real quick, got to move on to John Durham, because many of those intelligence associates, John Brennan, James Clapper, they were also involved in this massive big lie of Russia-Trump collusion. Give us your assessment of what took place this week in terms of John Durham's investigation. Do you believe we will finally see accountability here? We've been talking about this. Boy, it's from 2017 you've been on this program telling us the truth about the Russia collusion lie.
So what's so important about John Durham's disclosures this past week about things like that the Trump Yoda phone in the transition communicating, with the Kremlin that had been alleged, or the thousands of questions that Adam Schiff and Democrats asked about transactions between a Russian alpha bank and Trump officials, that all of that was, as he says under oath in court pleadings, technically impossible and user-created. And so these were things that those of us in the intelligence community and law enforcement were well aware of, and now the American people are finding out. And as you said, intelligence officials like Clapper and Brennan back in 2016 and Comey and others knew that all of this was fraudulent and shouldn't be a basis to move forward. But why it's important is, Maria, what it's showing is that this was a coordinated effort by Hillary Clinton campaign officials, by executives that were working with them, lawyers that worked for the campaign, all attempting to defraud the federal government. And as you said earlier, defrauding the government is a felony. Making false statements to federal investigators is a felony. And when multiple people do it together, that is a conspiracy. And I think that's what's being revealed in John Durham's filings.
Well, could the entire Perkins Coie firm go down? I mean, I don't know. I want you to answer that. And also, two issues here. The Glenn Simpson's Fusion GPS are intervening in this case, saying, look, we have key documents that we're not going to bring to trial because this is, client attorney privilege. And also, people are talking about the statute of limitations, that we're running out of time here for accountability. Address all of that, please, before we go.
Sure. Yeah, I think what's important here, as far as a conspiracy, a 5-year statute of limitations with regard to a conspiracy, the last overt act is when a statute of limitations runs. So, for instance, if officials like Glenn Simpson at Fusion GPS gave, for instance, false testimony, or anyone gave false testimony to congressional investigators in 2017 or 2018. That would be in furtherance of a conspiracy and would toll the statute of limitations. So the idea that this is not a prosecutable or indictable conspiracy is misguided. I think that all of these things again reflect that these folks were acting on behalf of the Clinton campaign. And so when multiple lawyers, to your question, if multiple lawyers for a law firm are attempting to defraud the government or lie to the government, to not just commit a campaign dirty trick, but to peddle a false narrative that misleads investigators, an entire law firm like Perkins Coie could be subject to indictment. It's why I've said from the beginning, Maria, based on the intelligence that I had seen, discussed, and shared with John Durham, I expected there to be many more indictments, and that continues to be the case.
Okay. John, we need an hour with you, okay? Thank you so much. John Ratcliffe. We'll be right back.